Breaking news out of Kansas City and Oakland as young star shortstop Bobby Witt Jr. was acquired by the Athletics from the Royals, who had been quietly shopping Witt for the past 48 hours, hoping for an offer to, quote, blow them away. Bobby Witt Jr. hasn't been hitting as well as the Royals had hoped, and some within the organization were starting to believe that perhaps the hype surrounding their young star was more than he would ever reach, despite his young age. So they started listening to offers over the last 48 hours to see if they could capitalize on the hype still surrounding the player and kickstart a full multi-year rebuild. They found just that when the Athletics expressed a willingness to include starting pitcher Geraldo Soto in the deal. Currently ranked as the number 2 prospect in baseball and someone who has had great success in AA ball this year at just 18 years of age, posting a 2.57 ERA and a whip under 1.3. Also included in this deal is 21-year-old second base prospect Max Muncy, a promising player who has spent most of this year on the injured list for the Athletics. And lastly, Oakland is also sending over outfield prospect Oscar Colas, someone acquired last season by the A's and who shows promising power hitting potential. Kansas City is stated to believe that they are several years away from competing and we're looking to turn one promising asset into several, and they believe they have accomplished that with this trade. Oakland has stated that they are looking for foundational players. They were able to acquire that with starting pitcher Trevor Rogers last year and believe that they got that once again here in Bobby Witt Jr. What's good, everybody, and welcome back to the channel for another episode of our Oakland Athletics franchise here on MLB The Show 23. Just talked about the massive move we were able to make to acquire Bobby Witt Jr. Just wanted to provide a little bit of commentary here, as a little bit of live commentary, I should say, before we get into the post-edit commentary, just because a big trade like this, I feel like, is always a little bit risky in a YouTube franchise, just because you're not the only one kind of invested in a franchise, right? You got the other people that are watching, and so you want to make moves that, you know, don't decrease interest in a franchise, of course. At the end of the day, I decided to make this move for Bobby Witt because I feel like if a player is on the trade block and the team is shopping a player, it's kind of fair game. And so that's just gonna be a rule that I'm gonna have on this series. That doesn't mean I'm gonna make a move for every, young, good player. We've made a similar move 2 years in a row. Trevor Rogers 1 year, Bobby Witt the next. The reason I felt comfortable making this move is just because with the restrictions that we've kind of set for this franchise at this point, I'm not using, sponsorships to increase our budgets. I'm not even allowed to spend the entirety of our budget. When we have the lowest budget in all of baseball, I have to get aggressive in the way I improve our team, right? And even furthermore, there's the additional rule where I'm not allowed to give a single free agent a contract that exceeds $15 million a year. So how are we going to build the foundation of this team? It's going to be through trades, and it's going to be through the draft. Of course, the draft will be coming in the next episode, so we'll have yet another chance to build the foundation of this team. And so really, when we started this team, you think back to episode 1, we didn't really have any foundational players. Last year, I was able to come out and trade for a pitcher that I thought we could build around. And this time I felt like we needed a position player. Bobby Witt is somebody that I feel like gets traded all the time. I've done, dozens. I don't know about dozens, but I've done plenty of playthroughs in MLB The Show 23 on franchises, kind of quickly rebuilding teams that I haven't made videos on or anything. But Bobby Witt gets traded in year 2 so often. Honestly, I don't know why the Royals would be willing to move on for Bobby Witt. Yes, they're several years away from being competitive, but Bobby Witt's still going to be good in several years. And so I pulled the trigger. I think it's an excellent opportunity to find someone that we could be excited to build around. And Bobby Witt is not, some already developed player, right? He's still got a long ways to go. Fielding isn't great. He's got a good arm. He's got defined strengths. Like speed is really elite. Durability, clutch, arm is really good. And he's a decent all-around hitter, but all these things still need to develop. And his He's been playing decent, like 774 OPS isn't bad, but in the case of both Witt and Rogers, we bought on guys that we can hope can fill a potential that they haven't yet reached, right? We're not trading for a Ronald Acuna or a Juan Soto, the guys who already have the ratings and the stats to prove they're superstars. We're buying on these guys young, hoping that they can eventually turn into superstars. Now, I know some people aren't going to be fans of the fact that we traded away Geraldo Soto. He was the number 2 prospect in all of baseball, the first A potential guy we ever had. The reason I was comfortable to do it was this. If you look at, he is not like increasing his stats. And I know it's still early. I know that. But he was having a really, really good year in AA. And let's just use this as an example, right? He has -1 stamina, +1 walks per nine, and +1 clutch. An overall of +1 on everything. He's increased 1 attribute. He was having a very similar year to I'm looking at early features, that's why I can't find him. Bo Schnell, who I just called up to AAA for a reason, and we'll get into that reason later. But I guess we can't see his stats either. But Bo Schnell had a 2.56 ERA and a pitch in 77 innings and had like a 1.1 WHIP, something like that. He was fantastic in AA, good enough to get the call up. Geraldo Soto had 75 innings, had like a 2.7 ERA. So like really, really, really similar in both the amount of innings that he pitched and in their productivity in those innings. And Bo Schnell is up +12. Why it wasn't, and that's not even including the fielding. I'm talking about just his pitching stats are up +12. And so why isn't Geraldo, they're both 18, why isn't Geraldo Soto actually increasing? And the second reason I was willing to move off of them, I keep switching over to, is just because the combination of his velocity and his pitches, I just didn't love. So yes, of course, how much is that going to matter? Because we're actually going to hop in and play with him only a handful of times in the season at max, and he's going to play all these other games, right? And simulation is always going to matter more than the games you hop in and play. But if he's going to be this ace pitcher, future ace pitcher, I want to use him and actually feel like I can have better stuff. Schnell has a better variety of pitches, I think, has more velocity on those pitches. Still, he's not like, he doesn't throw absolute gas or anything, but I just felt like the presence of Bo Schnell made me comfortable to move forward with this deal. Max Muncy, what made me willing to trade Max Muncy was Robert Poisson. He's kind of our only switch hitting prospect on the team right now. And so had 2 second basemen. I was willing to move off of one. And then with Oscar Colas, I was willing to move off of him mostly because vision and discipline were so low. I honestly hadn't really realized it that much when we traded for him. I was still very new to the game. Still am, by the way. But didn't realize how much of an impact they were going to make. And so I still think he can be really good. And I think he's an asset for the Royals. I just think he's going to be a little bit too inconsistent. And we also have Eduardo Silva, who is our guy at center field. Yes, Oscar Colas could have easily played a corner outfield spot. I know that. Lawrence Butler is also a guy. He's not going to improve at all, but he's solid, at least at fielding. So that was the big move. But that is not the only move we are going to make. I'm going to make another one here. The presence of Bobby Witt has made Ahmed Rosario available. Yes, he does have outfield secondary positions, but something that I recently learned in real life is that he has played outfield before, but it was a disaster in real life. Apparently, he wasn't very good at it, so I moved back to shortstop. But so I'm gonna trade him away. Not only because even though he can play outfield in the game, he wasn't good at it in real life. That's not the only reason. The other is that we're paying him $8 million, and kind of like we did with Trevor Rogers, I plan to extend Bobby Witt rather than just go through the 3 years of arbitration he has. And so getting off of $8 million from Ahmed Rosario will help that. So if you're a person, that was not happy with us trading away Geraldo Soto because that was our best pitching prospect. Well, I made a mistake in year one of this franchise, and that mistake was not acquiring Omar Cannon. He was one of the two players I was looking at taking in the 6th round. Didn't take him. He was available in free agency after season 1. Forgot to look for him. It was the first big L we took in this franchise. We really need a good lefty pitching prospect. And the Dodgers, who need shortstop pretty badly. Also, they have an endless budget, so $8 million for Rosario is nothing for them. They are willing to give us Omar Cannon in exchange for Ahmed Rosario's services. And we were able to correct the loss we took. Now, Omar Cannon isn't as good of a pitching prospect, of course, as Geraldo Soto. 4 years older, 4 overall less. The A potential is probably not as high as 97. I don't know what it is, but it's pretty safe to assume that it's below 97. So not going to be as good of a pitching prospect as Geraldo Soto. But I think if you look at both of these moves together, we got a slight decrease in pitching prospects, and I think a big long-term upgrade. I don't know how much of an upgrade is actually going to be in year one, if I'm being honest with you. Just because Rosario had really good contact hitting, but a big long-term upgrade at shortstop, I think. He's just going to be, in his prime, improving. He's not going to be decreasing for as long as it takes for this team to become competitive. I still think we are several years away. I think if everything breaks right for us, maybe we can be competitive in year 4, right? And so Ahmed Rosario wouldn't have decreased by then, but he would be, kind of at the inflection point of his career, getting into his 30s. Probably it's going to be 25 in year 4. And again, that's if things break right. It might take even longer than that. And so making big time moves. I hope you liked them. Now for what we're going to do in this episode, in terms of gameplay, I plan to do a couple of player lock games for Bobby Witt. Let's see his debut, and then either the next Boston game or maybe one of these Blue Jays games. And then I want to, for the first time in this series, look at our AAA team. Particularly, it won't be this game. Kyle Muller is starting, but we have not seen Kyle Muller in this franchise just because he was injured for a very large portion of season 1. Got sent down to AAA for season 2. Gonna get our first look at him and our first look at the AAA team. So we did call up a couple of people. We called up Eduardo Silva. He is now on the AAA team. He was hitting for really good power, really good OPS in AA. Thought he deserved the call up. And then, of course, I already showed you Bo Schnell. Probably not going to see him in this episode, but there are other guys that we are very invested in that we're going to see, including catcher Tyler Soderstrom, somebody that's one of the few guys that was on the roster since episode 1 that I'm really confident we're going to build around. And then lastly, we're going to take a look at the draft, which will be next episode. I now have completed our big board, and I am really excited. One of the reasons I was willing to kind of deplete our farm system a little bit is because I am very confident we're going to have a really good draft coming up. I think my Discovery Scout did so much good work discovering. Like, I have never had as much luck discovering as I have for this upcoming draft. I am stoked to show you all the guys that we've discovered. So that's all I have for the live commentary portion. Let's get into the episode. So let's get into the debut of Bobby Witt Jr. with the Oakland Athletics. This is the first time I've actually done a player lock on a non-pitcher here in this series. I'm just going to let you know now that I was pretty excited to hit with Bobby Witt. So that swing well outside the zone, you're probably going to see a lot of those. I just wanted to be aggressive. So wasn't my most disciplined episode of player lock. I'll just say that. But Bobby Witt also has a quirk where he hits better pitches that are outside the zone. Doesn't mean you should always swing at them, but that one was inside the zone. Just couldn't get in contact on it. It was a very well placed pitch by Chris Sale. So 0 for 2 starts. You wish it could be better, of course. Now, runners in scoring position for Bobby here. Can he bring across a run? This one inside once again. A very well placed pitch by Sale. Can't get his first RBI as an Athletic, nor his first hit. Top of the 7th, back up to plate. Nobody on. This one touches down. Can't be corralled over at third base. Thought about turning 2. Instead hit back to first base. So the first hit as an Oakland Athletic comes in his first game. Was really hoping we could at least get one. That one just scorches right by the third baseman. And hey, while we're on base, we've got 99 speed. Let's try to steal ourselves a bag as well. He gets down plenty of time. Having 99 speed at leadoff hitter with also his hitting abilities. They're not fully developed, right? Everything's in the 60s, but certainly better than what we've had. Jace Peterson, we kind of stopped there at third base. That makes this closer than it should have been. Should have just went around instantly, but we still are able to turn that base hit into a run with that speed. Barely getting that bag. Top of the 9th, we got a 1-0 lead. Sorry, not a 1-0 lead, a 1-point lead. Trying to extend it, couldn't quite do it. So we'll end our first game with a strikeout. Now later going against Philadelphia. We'll start the game with a ground to the second baseman, and we've been having a lot of ground outs to start the the Athletics career of Bobby Witt here, playing some shortstop. Throwing across the diamond, easily done. Got a big arm. His fielding ratings aren't great, but he's got a strong arm. Nice play made at first base to keep him off the base paths there. Bottom of the 7th, back up to the plate. Oh, that's a slider you just want to crush. The speed, though, able to turn that into a fielder's choice rather than a double play. Not that it does much in terms of his stats. Up 1, top of the 9th, able to get the throw in time to get Colton Wong retired. And that'll be it for the preview of Bobby Witt. And now we're going to take a look at AAA, like I mentioned earlier. Dermis Garcia able to lead us off quickly with a hit. First time we've really seen him play. Doesn't have a lot of potential, but he has been playing well in AAA this year. And so, could maybe see a little bit of a potential increase from him as well. Jordan Diaz not able to get a hit. Soderstrom is up. He grounds out. Got a man on third, but we do have 2 outs aboard. That brings up Eduardo Silva, maybe our best hitting prospect, at least for power. This one doesn't have the power, but it will hit the gap and be an RBI single for Eduardo Silva here, top of the 1st. Able to come in clutch in his AAA debut. Of course, Eduardo Silva, Bo Schnell, Robert Poisson. I learned when playing this game that it's Robert Poisson, not Robert. So I apologize to him. We'll call him by his correct name going forward. Another reason I picked this particular game for the AAA was to see Kyle Muller. I wanted to see how he was developing. Not a good first impression there. Hitting the first batter he faced today, but able to get a double play there with the next. And retire the third batter as well. So able to go down quietly here in the first inning. Still, you'd like to not hit the first batter of the game. Connor Capel up to the plate. Of course, he was playing on our Major League team last year a lot. So it's nice that we were able to upgrade the team enough where a lot of these guys that should be minor leaguers are minor leaguers and not forced to play for us. Devin Foyle gets beaned right on his buns, and he will reach base. Maybe a little bit of payback for the Kyle Miller shot earlier. Dermis Garcia, check swing there, and safely stolen base. No danger of a double play. Not that there's already 2 outs, so there wasn't danger of a double play anyway. That was a bad swing and a miss by me. And so Dermis Garcia will end the inning being struck out. Seth Beer up to the plate on the 1-2 pitch. Swings on the slider. Nicely done by Kyle Miller to get him to chase on that one. Later on in the second, Dominic Canzone lifts this one into left. Should be foul territory. Capel reaches over, snags it. That'll be the second out here. Cole Tucker now. Oh, pitch. That one hits over to Zach Geloff. Hasn't been hitting the ball as much, or shall I say, as well as I would hope for him. But Jordan Diaz now gets a slider over the middle of the plate. Got good contact on it, just not able to quite get it to fall. Brings up Tyler Soderstrom. Another very hittable pitch. I was a little late on it, unfortunately. Still not hit for Soderstrom. Man, I feel like I'm Soderstrom's bad luck charm or something. Every time we've come and watched him play, he hasn't done well, even though he's doing well in simulation. Eduardo Silva reaches base again, this time via walk. Poisson is up to bats, and you definitely want to be able to take advantage of a high curveball. It wasn't like it was right down the plate or anything, but it was enough to get on base and bring Silva into scoring position for Luke Waddle. He gets a hittable pitch. Can't get Glove there at third base. Can he beat the throw? He can. Not able to get a run out of it. It will be an error. Loading the bases for Connor Capel. Another high hittable ball, but that we just can't quite get, the contact that we are looking for. 2-0 pitch for Muller here will be a hit for Brett Johnson, and hasn't allowed a lot of hitters today, so nice job by the Aces, the Reno Aces, I believe, and then Pedro Severino able to get on base as well. 2 on, no outs. Generous call on the slider to strike out Tawa there. Dominic Fletcher there, top of the order. He's back up. Got really good contact on the ball, but could not find the gap. A nice throw there from right field as well. We'll hold the runners. And then this will drop down. Should bring home a runner. Won't even make the attempt to throw at home. Instead, we'll keep runners at first and second. This will be a short grounder. Easy force outs. And that will end the third inning. We're going to simulate the middle 3 innings here just for sake of trying to keep the length of this game, this episode reasonable. A couple of runs scored by each team here. That'll bring us to a 3-3 ball game, top of the 7th. Jordan Diaz gets a nice hold of this one. Deep in the left field, and it is gone. Home run solo shot for Jordan Diaz. First at bat back from simulating the middle 3 innings. He gives us the lead. 4-3. Can we get a bit of a rally going here in the 7th inning? Try to get ourselves a nice lead as I accidentally pressed the pause button. But nicely timed ball there. able to leave yard. And then speaking of power, Eduardo Silva definitely has some himself, and he'll get on base again. White, the Triple-A debut for Eduardo Silva, reaches base for the third time. Hasn't gotten any extra base hits, but he's been good at getting on base, of course. This time he will aggressively go home and be called safe. That was a very close play. Running down the quarters. Waddle just can't get a double play ball here. Lifts it to left. We've got speed with Silva. He's going home. Not even close. Didn't even need a dive. Just runs and gets us a 2-score lead. Connor Capel lifts this one. Hassan will check up at third, and then this is an example of me not knowing how the base running controls go in this game. I was trying to just get Poisson to advance, and then I got Capel to advance. And then I was trying to get Capel out of his jam, and I ended up advancing Poisson. It was pretty rough showing from your boy, but I got to learn how to control base runners in this game. So that's the first time I've ever tried to like override auto base running. Deolis Guerra will end the 7th quietly, so we'll go 2 innings left, 2-run lead. Devin Foyle up to the plate. He will strike out to start. Top of the 8th, brings up Zach Geloff. Like I said, not really hitting as good as I would like. This time strikes out Dermis Garcia. 2 outs. Top of the 8th, gets a very hittable ball, and he gets a hold of it. Gotta love the sound of the perfects here in MLB The Show 23. One of probably the best sound in sports video games, actually, for being honest. What would even be in contention? Maybe like a nice swoosh on 2K, but no, that doesn't really compete. Fly out, though, into right field will end the inning. So we have Victor Rosa. He comes up and gets a line out to start the bottom of the 8th. Seth Beer up to the plate. 0-1 is smashed deep to right center field. That one hits down. Silva throws to Poisson, but that is an easy double. And then Dominic Canzone, I have no idea. It's one deep, and I guess only 36 speed, so not too surprising we didn't get a tag up there, but still thought he might try it, as that was pretty deep. Cole Tucker, though, this one's going to get down easily. Capel tracks it down, throws in, but easily a run scored there. We're down to a 2-point lead. And another hit here. Victor Rosa was terrible. He was so bad. So he didn't even get to finish the 8th. We brought in Austin Pruitt, more of a veteran pitcher, somebody that we've kind of held at in the minors up to this point. Geraldo Silva tracks it down, and we end the 8th. Able to keep that 1-run lead. Soderstrom here to lead off the 9th. Can't get anything going. He'll ground out to start us off. Would love to extend this past a 1-run lead. Eduardo Silva's been excellent today. This circle change will lead to a ground out, though. He was competitive there, trying to beat the throw, just couldn't quite get there. And then Robert Poisson. He's also been good. Robert, sorry. It's going to take a minute for me to override my my previous way of thinking how to pronounce his name. Austin Pruitt ended off the 8th, trying to get him through the 9th as well. He'll start out with the ground outs. Not the easiest of saves. Can't even allow a single run. Order flips over here for the Reno Aces, and Dominic Fletcher gets on base. Tying run is on the base, and the go-ahead run at the plate. Austin Nola is gonna crush this one deep to left field. That one is back and gone. It's a walk-off home run for Austin Nola. His first in AAA this season. That's quite the first home run to get. Nice walk-off there in the 9th. Still, I think this is quite a fun game to play despite the loss. We've been walked off twice now in like the last few games. And so let's now talk about the draft. The draft will be next episode. And so I want to talk about, of course, the best players in it. Boyce McDermott, I think, is my favorite player in this class. Going to be an all-around hitter, going to have speed, not going to be a great fielder. And I would like to get some good fielders. You know, Eduardo Silva we drafted last year, not a great fielder as well. But just that ability to hit. And if we wanted more fielding, we could go with Frank Cannon. Again, I think both of these players have a decently high likelihood of being generational players. They're not being as portrayed as good as they will be in these projections. It happens every time with generational prospects. At 0%, they look generational, and at 100% scouted, they look generational. Anything else, they don't. Gritty Wolf, he looks to be kind of like the last player I would consider in the first round if I didn't think those guys were generational. He's going to be a very safe pitching prospect, going to be good, not going to have the highest potential, but he's going to be good early, and he's going to be good, have like, you know, potential to be really good later. Harrison Ash is one of my favorite round 2 targets should he make it. He's got good size. Not the best fielder, but he does have some arm strength to him, some contact. Again, I would like some fielding. There's not a lot of good fielders in this draft class, I think, except for Frank Cannon. Gilberto Vasquez is my favorite closing or reliever, any kind of bullpen arm. We just showed last game that we need some bullpen arms, so not afraid to take one with our second pick. Jonas Henson is kind of the other closer that I would really consider here. Gonna have really high strikeouts per 9. Somebody that we discovered. He's gonna be high up on that round 2 list. Alex Angeles, switch hitting catcher, not a fielder at all. Might be a DH, especially to start out, maybe forever. But a switch hitting DH with the hitting stats that you're seeing right now. I'd be willing to take him in the second round for sure. I think I could probably get him in the third just because how many teams are discovering catchers, you know. But our scouts would be really, really mad at me if we didn't come out of this draft with Alex Angeles. They love him. Richie Daly is another guy with that second round pick I am very high on. Cristobal Hernandez, didn't end up scouting him. Might scout him with the last week available to go. Tommy Robertson as well. Just not a lot of good fielders at all. John Church, contact hitter with not the worst fielding, but still not going to be very good. 18 years old, lefty bat. You'll like it. Somebody that I would be willing to take in the second. And then if you want fielding, Andres Palmeiro is here, but I view him as more like a borderline second or third round pick because he is injured. But if you want somebody that can field early, I think you're looking at Andres Palmeiro. And so if he's there with the third, for sure I'd take him. Second, I don't know, just because he is injured, that makes me hesitant to take him that high, even though that potential, like 85 to 95, is really good. What's his durability going to be? We do have injuries on in this series. Marcus Lloyd is kind of now we shift to third round targets. These are a lot of discovered players. I've said it before. Our Discovery Scout did work with this draft class. David Lange looks like a very low floor, high ceiling guy. If you want a lefty, it's Rodriguez. He's going to be very raw. Walks per 9 are in a terrible spot, but that kind of level of potential where it's at worst an 80, that's something in the third round I'm taking it for sure. So before the acquisition of, Omar Cannon, definitely he would have been very high. He still might take him though. AJ Isaac, older prospect, going to be low 60s, but going to have high B or low A potential for sure. Velocity and break are both in a really good spot. Control, not great. Some of his per 9s are okay. And then from this point on, starting with Kenny Martin, it's really just kind of late round guys. Rounds 4 through 6. Some guys I haven't really scouted because they didn't look super great to me. I mean, Stephen Anderson, if you look at all of his highs, he looks like the best prospect ever. But if you look at some of his lows, he looks like somebody that's not worth drafting. But, round 4 and on, definitely willing to take a shot. Again, another discovered guy. All these guys are discovered. We discovered a couple of like Alex Angeles and the guy that we're going to look at next year, Franz Garrison at catcher. A couple of really good catchers. A lot of good pitchers we discovered in this draft class. It was kind of crazy, honestly. Like every week I was like, oh, here's another top 100 player that is a pitcher that we're looking at. Gustavo Aguilar, maybe like a round 6 guy, but here's another one. Howie Cochran, not ranked, draft rank 51. I honestly think he'd be a little bit lower for me. Vinny Cabrera is one of the few like positional players that wasn't a catcher that we actually liked, and he's draft rank 90 for us. Guaranteed B potential, going to be in the 50s. Yeah, I'll take that in the 4th round all day without hesitation. And so I think mostly because the Discovery Scout did more work than I've ever seen a Discovery Scout do in my life, I am very confident that at least through like the first 3 rounds, our first 4 picks, right? Because we have 4 top 76 picks. All those guys were going to be getting really good players. After that, it's always a crapshoot because other people are discovering too. A lot of our guys that are discovered are going to go early. It's important to take who you think is the best and not just hope that they'll be available later. And that will be my strategy. But I'm very, very excited for this draft. Next episode is going to be focused solely on the draft. We'll do the drafts, we'll simulate the month, we'll sign them, and then we'll look at the ratings. That's all we're doing next time. Unless we make a trade. I kind of wanted to make the trades that I wanted to make this year in this episode, though, so that we could focus as much on the draft only as we can next episode. But that's all I have for this episode. I'll be back soon with another, and I will see you then.